Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to have to get a tissue paper for this one. Okay, it is tax awareness 101. All right, do you see American flag on the car? There is a reason that they put an American flag on the car, and it's not because you are so American that you have a flag on the car. It means that the car meets American standards, a standard, we call it, like a standard driving, like a clutch and a brake pedal that has a flywheel in the old days, and they threw it out and then they put an F1 paddle in it and all this crazy shit because people got lazy. They're like, we don't need the flywheel. This is too much work. It causes our parts department too much tax labor on the director of tax. So we're just going to consolidate over here, and our fancy hedge fund guys are just like, why don't we just exchange metal over here, and you put it, and you just get the guy a bunch of shit over here, and you just like, you just fucking lost the flywheel. Now, the tax effect of this car, right, to the dealer. If I decide, or the dealer says, Keon, get all the shit off the car. Be like, man, I labored over this car for you and you benefited from it. I know you did, because things would change when it would come out of the shop after something, which is cool. I don't care. Not even like free art for Sundays, and who gets free artwork. It's not about that. It could just be an answer back. That's the thing with the automotive industry. It's not necessarily, they stole my design and they stuck it on a Hyundai, man. You're stupid. I hate you. No, dude. It's not about that at all. What it is, it's like they sit there and somebody decides to overload, the infrastructure with 10 million high-rises for residential that there's no reason to. There's like, where do we get all these people to fill in the buildings? Furniture sales are going up or down, who knows? I mean, there's a whole bunch of things, and the market used to look like at housing starts. There was a jobs report that talks about labor, and then there's a report that talks about housing starts. When there are housing starts, it does things to the ecology of the ground too. Every time a tree gets cut or whatever, they have to run mill equipment and gasoline, electricity, and all this other stuff. And it also affects the city life, the city workers. That means they have to sit there and explain to you, no, stupid, you don't just come in here with a development project and just put the earth moving equipment on the ground. You need to tell the city so that they know where to put stuff, like a manhole or a fire hydrant, or things like that. It's called zoning, right? So you got to have a set of plans. You have to hire an engineer. You have to pay him his money, right, on time, ahead, right? And you better make it a good number, not $5,000, not $4,000, none of that crap. Okay? Especially if you're giving a guy a good chance. That means you squared up on you, right? So here is not a failure to communicate. It's more like, all right, we're communicating. So the answer really is, it's like, all right, this car is here with all this stuff on it, but it's not stuff, it's a thing to me, right? It's actually used for a purpose, which I'm going to tell you what it's for. So, well, we already know that. We had that discussion before. So anyway, the state flower of Texas is what? It's a bluebonnet, ladies and gentlemen, right? It's a bluebonnet. That means you got to abide by some kind of code in the state tax law. And we need bluebonnets somewhere that would make sense to people. Or is this car the bluebonnet? I don't know what it's called. I haven't named it yet. All I've just named it is Keon. Hey, it's just talking back to me. I'm just talking to myself. So anyway, usually when I am talking to someone, it's either a plant, or nature or a tree. We used to do that back in the day. You used to talk to your plant, that's in your kitchen or something, to let it breathe carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is what your body gives out when you breathe through your mouth or your nose. It's carbon dioxide. And when you breathe carbon dioxide, the plant converts it back into oxygen, right? So it's kind of interesting. It's like you're talking to yourself and it gives you fresh air. Now, it's the same thing here, right? People are talking to me and I've got to talk to my car in order for it to convert into fresh air. So anything you pretty much say to me is taped on here some way, but some of it's a fallacy too, right? Some things you might think are actually painted on here and on the actual metal, and they're not. There's something called a base layer, like tape or vinyl, and then it's painted over. That's kind of the process here. And you know, the town, I think, has contributed to it, and it looks wonderful. I can't complain at all. So you know, and there are some things, even like a little fender bender, right? It's not even worth your time to yell and cuss and fuss at the other party. I mean, that's just kind of archaic. You know, you're just like, well, damn, shit. All right, no worries, man. And it's not like anybody needs to go out and revenge it. It was an accident. Shit happens all the time. Actually, it's probably more the car's fault than it is the driver's fault, unless the phone is in their hands, right? The best place to stick your phone, in my opinion, this is what I've always done since analog cell phones ever came out, and I was back in the, you know, smart beep days. It was, you know, shove the phone underneath your thigh, your left thigh, or hamstring, right? Which, I mean, you know, unless you're doing Outback kind of, you know, rally runs and shit, then you put your phone on a dashboard. So anyway, we're sitting here now. The car is still talking. We really haven't gotten down to tax, because the base portion here is that I've labored into the car, right, from what people have communicated to me. And I'm just showing the other side of it, right? It's an intangible asset. So basically anything that I've taped on here, discussed, or anything like that gets booked onto my balance sheet, my personal balance sheet, which doesn't really go on my tax return because nobody's really been assigned any shares out of my entity, and there's really no revenue because I don't collect revenue, right? And if I do, it's like, here, you need beer money, huh? Yeah, I'm basically a homeless guy at the end of the day. So the car payment against the income that I do have that I wish not to discuss because it's none of anybody's business, right, is all a deduction. The intangible portion of the time that I've spent sticking things on here, unless anybody is willing to compensate me for it, right, which means that if they compensate me for it, then they can have the rights to the intangible asset that I'm going to book. And that includes everything, right? And the other side of it is a credit, which is basically all the cash that I've spent, right? Well, at least in time. And the tape, which the tape came from about 3 years ago. I still have the tape somewhere, this blue tape. The vinyl was an $18 vinyl, and that was this current year, so I don't have to discuss that right now. If I actually booked all this crap on my tax return that's equivalent to about 3 years ago of crap that I've had to go through, that's all intangible asset value. The question is who wants to buy it, right? And until somebody wants to buy that intangible asset, there's no reason for me to even book it yet. But I have to just put it on a summary schedule or a supporting schedule and send that into the service. It's like, here's Exhibit A. Here's my intangible asset value cost, and this is the reason why it's there. Right? So as an intangible asset, you cannot amortize it anymore. That's considered goodwill now. They got rid of intangible asset amortization years ago, because I think what was ended up happening is people really never had a research and development credit offer on the car. That means somehow I probably have to pick up the phone, call Cadillac and everything else in the car and say, look guys, I've got all this stuff, and you know, it's apparent to me with the bell bottom sitting right there that, you know, I might have a chance at calling the fire department and saying, look, I'm not going to die for drinking too much. My body is good. You can ask my doctor, but she's not going to tell you shit because it's none of your business, right? And no, I don't drink that much anyway, and it's not beer money. It's asset money. That means if it's asset that I got for an intangible of all this time that I've spent on a car, then I book it on my tax return as an intangible asset. Then if somebody wants to buy it, it comes in on a sale form, and that's a different form, right, on a tax return, which, I mean, this is some complicated crap, and it's not like I have to go register this shit in 50 other states because I just exchanged a sale in Texas, probably to some, you know, corporate office asshole that's here that's just like warring over the thing between Ford and GM. I have no idea because this is a Cadillac product. However, there is a General Motors component to this. And what General Motors does with the car and where they fit in, I have no idea, and it's none of my business. Because if I did, then I would be doing what? Breaking their intellectual property, which is what this technically is. It's an intellectual property car. It's like, my brain is in the car. Yeah, and it's also outside the car. That means whoever is suing my brain to figure out why I put something on the car. But you know what? They're not even asking those questions. That's the funny part. You know, there was a rooster on the side of it, and then they ripped that off, and I turned it into a pilot light with a flame on top. I don't know. You know, it's kind of like what it looks like there on the side. But anyway, it's also an answer to Dukes of Hazzard. You know what I mean? I liked Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid. It's kind of cool. Daisy Duke, where is she? Talk to Boss Hogg. Yeah, where's Smokey and the Bandit? All that good stuff. Right? I mean, those are things back in the day. It's not like I'm infatuated with the TV industry. It just, you know, it's part of culture. It's also part of scripture. Anyway, so at the end of the day, I don't know. I've spent, let's see, today is April 9th, 2019, right? It's 18 in my head because I'm a tax guy and I'm still messing around with 2018 numbers. And for the record, the president is the same president, right? It's Mr. President. But to be specific, right now it's President Donald Trump, right? So, in the prior administration, it was Obama. But we still have to deal with not only Obama and President Clinton and President Trump and President Obama and President everybody else. You got to deal with all the presidents when you're a citizen of this country. You got to own up to it at some point, and it sucks. And then the black mayor or whatever, right? Black, white mayor, whoever. Ron Kirk was the last black mayor we had. I don't know. I guess Jesse Ventura threw him out of office and scared him too much over, you know, pizza pie and how it related to, you know, ricket construction. I have no idea. It's none of my business. So anyway, we're looking at it here. We see the aluminum touch here. It's probably, you know, they're answering another automotive manufacturer. You have to look at it sort of autistically. Not autistically, artistically also. However, probably an autistic child, you know, had something to do with it, perhaps. Maybe a white autistic child or a black autistic child. I have no idea. Maybe even a kid that was subject to mental retardation with the 23 chromosome that doesn't work. However, those guys now, you know, there is a way to get even mentally retarded children to work appropriately and be in a society without being weird, right? Or what's to say what's weird and what's not weird, right? What's normal and what's not normal, or natural and unnatural. What's unnatural is living in the city, right? When you get out to the country, people don't even know what the hell to do. They're like, what? So anyway, and it takes a certain amount of time and effort to figure out what to do with a country piece of property, because you can't just take an excavator to the whole entire land at one swoop and put in 10,000 rows. I mean, it needs facilities, right? I made a joke to one city official. I said, you know, hey, bro, you want us to, like, literally, when we dig a street, I've got to fix that guy over there who messed it up, right? He put a U-turn in the thing, wasn't supposed to, and then he drains all of his water into our property. And now you want, I've got to do it again? I've got to go in there and put a road, place a road in next to a playground. And then how in the world am I going to do that, fix his mess up? Well, you know what? It's not that hard. I might just put a sanitary sewer line right underneath the son of a bitch and just pop the water out all the way into the other end of the, it's just one trench. I mean, it sounds simple, but then you've got other things going on in there. You got water lines, and it's kind of a grid issue at that point. But anyway, none of that intangible asset is, well, you know what? The intangible of that project might be in here, because the car did actually go out there and fix a kid from being so stupid to his mom and his dad. You know, straighten him up, maybe give him a Coors Original, tell him to chill out. Here's your ride, dude. Go. So anyway, I don't think he's old enough to drink. That's not a good idea. It might be. I don't know. So anywho, here it is. The intangible asset monster of NASCAR, Formula One, and everything else in between. I don't know. So I don't even know how much to book. Maybe 16 million if somebody wants to buy it. Yeah. I mean, even if it's 16 million, I have to put it back in to the development of whatever the hell I was researching.